Hey, welcome to Positive Partners, a dog show, and I'm here with Oliver and Tom. But this is Oliver, my Bernese Mountain Dog, and this show is going to be about loss or losing a pet. I had two of these guys, and I thought it might be important because whenever you get a dog, cat, or whatever kind of pet, you make a contract with the ending somehow. You know, whether it's by accident or it's your choice. This is Ulrich. I lost him about a month ago. Another Bernese Mountain Dog, just a slight bit bigger than this one. But his story started with, he was, let's see, 7 years old, 11 months. And he had bloat, which is where the stomach twists and is a very serious condition. So we had emergency surgery for that. He came through that with flying colors, and a week and a half later developed some paralysis, and he couldn't relieve himself, and then his back legs stopped working, and it led to us putting him down. So in dealing with that, I thought it would be good to pass along some of the things that we experienced and learned from that. The first question is, when do you put a dog down? This is, okay, so Tom's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
So have you lost a pet?
Yeah.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. This is one thing that a lot of, vets, they get asked this question, when's the right time? And most of the vets will just tell you, you'll know. Some of the key things is paralysis, can't stand or walk. And you can see with Oliver here and Ulrich, they're over 120 pounds, so carrying them in and out, it's not a Chihuahua. So if they're paralyzed, non-responsive to stimuli, they're not reacting to anything, refuses to eat or having bloody diarrhea. You don't want to do it if they're just vomiting or having diarrhea. This is blood and it's chronic, so this is a big problem. Loss of bodily functions, lack of life in the eyes, and just giving up. I saw that with Ulrich when during that last day he was here. Mm-hmm. Usually he would run from people. He was a little fearful, shy, I guess, not necessarily fearful, but he was shy. He didn't care who was in the room. It didn't matter about any of this stuff. Seizures, which are chronic seizures that can't be managed. Bleeding from bodily orifices, and head pressing, which you should do some investigating on. This is Ulrich's last day. He's hooked up to an IV. This is at the vet's office. I apologize. It sounds like somebody's breathing heavy on my microphone. That's Oliver. But anyway, along with, you kind of feel it from the animal when they've given up, when they have resigned themselves. Part of the decision is not being selfish. You just can't bear to let go of them, and so you keep them around at their expense, and that's not good for them. Think about if you were in their shoes. Not that they wear shoes, but in their paws. And, when would you like to be relieved of the pain and suffering? What kind of life are they leading? This is Ulrich on our front lawn, which I spent like 2 or 3 hours with him sitting there. Just, I fed him his last meal right there, and that was our time. Okay, so now you've made the decision. You've gone through, the doctor has said whatever condition he has is not, he can't get over it. So there's no cure, and the quality of life has gone down. One thing that I always do, I'm always there and trying to comfort them. They've been your best friend for years, so you owe them to be there. I know it's hard. A lot of people can't do it. another thing, okay, if you want to skip down to
Well,
it's okay to cry, you're going to. And there's people, that were in the room that didn't know Ulrich from anyone, and they were crying. So back up to 2, you pay the fees and make the arrangements for the aftercare, which is, whether you're having buried or cremated and all that. You do all that stuff beforehand, because you are not going to be in any shape after you leave. And, you don't want to be in front of a whole room full of people looking a whole mess. So you take care of all that stuff, and usually the vets will have you lead you out the back door or something so you don't embarrass yourself. Leave their collar on until afterwards. A lot of times collars mean baths or something is going to happen. So leave it on till everything is finished. And make that special day special. Gives them treats, have some special time, if they're still able to do things. Car ride, take them to McDonald's, get some chicken nuggets or a hamburger or something. Have a good time and try and make it pleasurable as that time can be.
yeah, one of the vet techs said it's going to be one of the worst days of your life, but
it is. It's
doesn't
thing.
have to be one of their worst.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, after they leave, after they've been put down and you've taken care of everything, you've gone home,
and that's another one of your dogs.
Yeah,
there.
That's Riley. So you will probably see changes. They may be subtle, they may be large, and sometimes it takes a long time for them to get over it. They don't know what happened.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out.
You went for a ride with this, their buddy, and in Ulrich's case, that he was alpha dog. And he didn't come back. Yeah. And so.
And if they don't see his body, then they're trying to put the pieces together. And
right.
You did some things where you were mentioning that you created some more routines with your other dogs.
Right.
And, kind of.
We went on the same walks. We went to the park. We show them that everything's okay. Nothing's going to happen to them. I know when we took Riley. My wife took him to go get some ice cream for a special thing.
Right?
Yeah, by himself. So he was real sheepish jumping in the car like, oh no. The other one disappeared.
Well for the other
this
dog,
is not going to be good.
Yeah.
So he was really scared when he got into the car. And she made the first stop. I can't remember where it was. They gave him some treats, and then they stopped at the ice cream place, and he settled down. I was like, okay, maybe this isn't going to turn out so bad. Oliver here, go back to us. Oliver got he still is. All of them have gotten real picky about drinking from the water bowl, and they really won't take anything else but filtered water and cold filtered water. Before they weren't really that picky. He always liked to be outside and drink the water that had time to breathe. But he's gotten a lot more picky. But as you get into a routine and you pay attention to them, Riley, the little brown dog, he's not like this guy where he likes to sit on your lap and be with you. He did jump up on the couch a lot more, and he needed some comforting and knowing that everything's cool, right? Because they experience loss. Dogs have a full range of emotions. They're not a thing of possession. They have the full range of emotions that people do.
Yeah, that's right. Neurologically, the structures that activate emotions are there in mammals and dogs, and so they bond. They're concerned about the group that they're with whom they're bonded, and they grieve for the losses and that kind of thing. The advantage they have is they live in the here and the now.
Right. They don't remember too much of what happened yesterday.
Right. Yeah. For them, be here now is sort of the natural way of being, which is why we like them.
I'm sure you're making a terrible sound on my microphone.
Sorry about that. Huh?
No, this guy, this is where he stays at home. He's right on the couch with me, and he's been my shoulder, and I've been his shoulder through this whole thing. It's part of the reason he's here.
Yeah.
And this is Ulrich, and we chose to have him cremated, and that was probably about a $250 charge. Part of it is the urn. That box there is the urn, and it does go by weight, so don't expect your Chihuahua to be $200.
The box was probably what, $80 or something like that?
Probably, but if you have they'll do anything, a bird or
whatever it is.
cat, whatever, and they're not going to be that much. But these guys would take some work to
right.
bury.
Bigger, yeah.
And my thing is, I don't want to bury them in a yard that I may move out of.
Right.
And I can, take him with me or whatever. I'm not leaving him in a stranger's place.
Yeah. And then depending on the time of the year and one's physical shape, you can't necessarily dig in the winter. Or,
if it's been 100 degrees, you don't want to wait and let them lay out there until you've got time, or you can dig through the dirt that's hard as a rock or
late August,
icy.
Yeah. Right.
Where are you going, Oliver?
Yeah. I don't know.
May's getting hot. These guys get hot.
So, Dad, it's the studio lights. There we go.
You can lay down.
Yeah. Thank you, I will.
Okay.
Didn't need your permission. I'm good.
So the microphone will be a little bit, you won't hear the heavy breathing now. Right. So, through this whole process, it's been a rough month. And, for a week and a half, it was just hard to eat. Our stomachs were tore up. And, just in a way it was good because it wasn't a long drawn out process. It wasn't like months of cancer and withering away. It was, a day and a half, and boom, your life's changed. And as you do things with them and enjoy life through their eyes, and both of you lean on each other, things get better. And people, I post on Facebook, and people write things trying to comfort you, and sorry to say, it's appreciated, but it doesn't take away the pain.
There's an empty place there.
Right.
Just like there by,
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to make you feel better. Nothing. It takes time.
Yeah. We might go to the stages of grief slide. That'd probably be.
Yeah. And you can prepare. You think you're prepared. You think you're ready for it. You're not ever ready for it. Whether it's a child, parent, human, aunt, uncle, grandfather, whatever, pet, cat, dog, whatever. What makes losing a pet worse is you're making the decision sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're telling them, get in the car, let's take this last ride.
Right.
And that kills me, but it's very hard. But the
That's
grief,
like end of life kind of thing with a person, and when do you pull life support?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Or I've got a cousin who's an ER doc, and he said that families say, well, do everything you can, just don't spare any effort, and
don't spare any expenses.
Well, or how extreme they will go through, the steps they'll go through to keep a person alive. And then he said, well, he'll invite them back to the room where they're doing all the heart stuff and all this sort of thing. And when someone's illness is chronic and irreversible and predictably fatal, and the family sees what all their family members having to go through, then, and they realize what all is involved, then they're more apt to say, no, let's just stop at this point. This is, this is almost torturing.
Right.
Somebody,
it's at the person or the pet's expense that you keep them hanging on.
It can be that way, yeah. So on the point of being there with them, I've got an acquaintance, and she mentioned a couple of them that we're okay with.
Okay.
Stages of grief, we're all right with that. Well, okay. Either way, one was she in going through euthanasia with her with her pet, um, she said that I guess the pet was dehydrated and they couldn't find a vein, and it was awful and so forth. And what she realized from all that, that it would have been better, and what she did with her next pet was have a sedative given. So
Right.
and she spent about 20 minutes with that pet in the veterinarian's office, and they gave her that time. They weren't just, looking over her shoulder, but she had the time there. And then if they did have trouble getting a vein and so forth, then the pet wouldn't be frightened and would
Traumatized.
traumatized by it and so forth. So that worked out better. Um,
Yeah,
and
usually every time I've had it done with an animal, they have put them to sleep just as they were going to go in for an operation.
mhm,
And then they administer the drugs that,
right.
end life, however
Yeah.
they do that.
And someone else I talked to had said, well, they couldn't be there. It just was too heartbreaking.
It is.
And if you get the information about what is going to transpire, then maybe you can stay with them when they are given the anesthetic.
Yeah.
They're still alive, but as far as the animal's concerned, they don't need you there for the
Right.
life-ending medication. But might be possible to stay there that way.
Hmm.
Okay, well, we'll go through the stages of grief. We'll go to that one here, and I'll run through some information. Anyway, everybody grieves differently, and some people can do well with moving on and just getting another pet. That's fine. You do what works for you. You don't have to be a certain way. Um, if someone is going through a whole series of grieving steps, they can go through shock and denial, pain and guilt, and that's a point where you're reliving all the things you wish you had done this, you wish you'd spent more time, you wish you'd fed another pet food.
Yeah, like
all the-
whenever Ulrich went, I didn't know what made these symptoms
what
come on.
happened? Yeah.
Was he exposed to something? I mean, he was doing great after the surgery. Was he exposed to something on a walk that we took, or did I, in trying to treat him better and giving him some better foods, was there something in that, or did he trip and
So,
fall, or
so you question everything you could have possibly done anytime ever.
right?
Yeah, yeah. And then, there might be an anger and a bargaining kind of thing. It's kind of like, oh, if I would have just done this, and that's kind of part of that sort of trying to negotiate a different direction. And this is all a learning process. So what do you do the next time? Then there can be that stage, that phase of feeling depressed and just kind of remembering, and then,
Yeah, because like one of those times when it comes up is when
yeah,
we go to feed.
right.
I've got 4 dogs, and I
And you
still
got
have four bowls,
bowls. Yeah,
3 dogs now, and
yeah,
4 bowls on the
yeah.
floor.
And then there's a whole year in grief. There's usually a whole year of first time that happened, first time that happened, first time that happened. Holiday times and the empty plate at the table and so forth. Then eventually you move on to acceptance and hope, and being able to have another animal in your life if that works for you.
Hmm.
Let's see, I'll kind of go through this here. I went to a training workshop at the Boulder, Colorado Humane Society, and the presenter there asked the question, "What's the biggest problem with dogs?" And her answer was that they don't live long enough. And why is that? Well, they are genetically a subspecies of wolf. Emotionally, they're way different. They're more bonded, and we'll get to the bond part. But in terms of their longevity, they inherit what the circumstances of a wolf, and a wolf lives a dangerous life in which they have to reach maturity and reproductive age relatively early, because nobody feeds them, and they are preying on animals that can seriously injure them when they're trying to take that animal down. So
And that's a bad thing. I love big dogs,
mhm,
And that's the bad thing about having big dogs. The bigger they are, the shorter the
Right.
lifespan. You know,
Yeah.
you can have a little dog and they'll live 15, 20 years.
Right.
These guys, I think they average 6 to 8 years. That's just not enough time,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
just not enough.
But
It's
those are the best years
that's
I've
what,
ever
yeah,
had.
right. But and you can be attached to a breed, and that's just fine.
Hmm.
You know, you love Berners, you love Dobes.
Right.
Um, Usually in the animal kingdom, larger animals live longer, but in dogs, it's kind of the opposite. We're talking about bonds and griefs. We are physically and biologically attached to our dogs. When we are with their dogs, we and they are producing oxytocin, and that is the same chemical that is occurring when a mother is with a baby, when people are with people with whom they're very, very close and so forth. So we have that, and you can track that increase in that bonding hormone. And so when we don't have one of those animals, when we lose them over a period of time or suddenly, that flow of that sort of soothing bonding chemical is stopped with that animal, and it's a kind of withdrawal.
Hmm.
Um,
That's why I
so
have two of these guys.
right, yeah, that helps. That helps.
Yeah.
And for people who are sometimes, people are bonded to an animal. That animal doesn't take the place of other relationships, but it can count equally to. And sometimes for people who are lonely or isolated, that animal is their world. Um, Now, when you get to the place where it's like, what do you do now? When a pet's terminally ill, we all have limits. There's only so much time we have, only so much energy we have, only so much money we have. And that's a place where you hopefully got to be accepting of yourself and understand that your pet would be accepting of you. Medical veterinary technology has become magnificent. And on the other hand, everything that can be done for a human being can be done for a pet.
And
And
and I would stress, if you have a big dog or a dog that is predisposed to cancer or hips or something, get insurance and get it early. And just like with people, if there's a pre-existing condition, you're going to pay a lot for it.
yeah.
So if you get one of these dogs that have problems, get that insurance early, because it will pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Because I think we had about $10,000 in all bills his total lifetime.
Yeah. And that's just not feasible for many people.
Right.
And our pets, if they could speak, they would understand. So you want to have that kind of image of them being understanding of you. When you are going through thinking back on the loss of your pet, because we're bonded to them, because we are a social species just like they are. We will go to great lengths to try to take care of, to search for, to make things better for uh, any other person or animal with whom we're bonded. So in our minds, after we've lost an animal, if we picture them as still suffering, as looking to us, and as us having failed them in some way, that tears at your heart. And what you can do is, whatever you believe about what happens next, and
What's on the other
what's on
side?
the other side. I hope there are animals. Otherwise, it's like, what's up with that? But
Yeah.
anyway, um, uh, what does help a lot is picture in your mind those times when your animal was healthy, and then uh, picture yourself, maybe after your animals is gone, picture yourself touching them or something in such a way that you see them healing, getting restored to vitality, running around in a field and happy again. Because if you keep the image in your mind that your animal's hurting, then you're going to feel like you are constantly having to do something. So you want to get them pictured as being okay again. And then that way they're free and you can let go and move on as well.
Right. And one strange thing that happened after Ulrich left, and we left the hospital, we were outside, and my wife was smoking a cigarette. There was a little fuzzy seed pod that touched my arm, and then went to the car. And there's been like 4 other times that that same type of thing, and I looked it up, and it's a thistle seed and floating around, and I've only seen like 1 at a time. And that one time it was when I took them for a walk. Another time we were sitting in a restaurant. Came over and touched my wife, and when we left the hospital, it touched my arm and then went to the car.
Wow.
So I think that's him signaling that, you know,
There are
he's
more
cool.
things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy.
Yeah.
And Oliver, you were great.
Oliver,
You're a star.
get up here, buddy. Let's say bye. You tired? Okay. This is Oliver, my burner, and someday we'll have to say goodbye, and it'll be hard, but it's worth it now.
That's true. And you might notice I haven't tried to buddy up with Oliver because, you know, he's not my dog. He's Mike's dog. So I just let him have things on his terms there, and worked out great.